Hey there, and a massive welcome back to the Deep Dive. Really glad you could join us today.
Yeah, hello everyone. Great to be diving into another interesting topic.
Whether you're tuning in for the first time or you're one of our regulars, we are absolutely thrilled to have you with us.
Definitely.
Now, before we properly jump into today's material, which I think you'll find fascinating, just a quick little favor. If you're enjoying these deep dives, finding them useful, picking up some good stuff, please do hit that subscribe button over on that YouTube channel.
Yeah, it genuinely makes a huge difference. Helps us keep the lights on, so to speak, and keep bringing you this kind of in-depth exploration.
It really does. So yeah, English Easy here on YouTube. Thanks in advance.
Okay, so what are we getting into today?
Right, so we're all about taking interesting sources, usually ones you, our listeners, bring to our attention, and really digging deep.
Extracting those key nuggets of information, yeah. The goal is always to help you get properly well-informed and, hopefully make it enjoyable too.
Sort of a shortcut to understanding what really matters in a particular source.
Yes,
And today, you've brought us a really fantastic resource. It's a YouTube video.
That's right. It's called English Vocabulary in 1 Hour. Advanced vocabulary lesson, and it's from the channel Speak English with Vanessa.
Vanessa. Yeah, she's great. Very popular channel. And this video, well, it's absolutely jam-packed with useful language, isn't it?
It really is. An hour just filled with vocabulary. So we thought we'd focus our deep dive today on 2 core areas that she covers in quite a lot of detail.
Okay, what are they?
First, personality expressions. So, all those we use to describe ourselves and other people, character traits, that kind of thing.
Always useful. And the second?
And second, vocabulary related to the human body. Anatomy, but also, crucially, the idioms that go along with body parts.
Oh, interesting. Body idioms are such a huge part of English.
They really are. And, these 2 areas, personality and body, they're just incredibly practical. Think about it. Well, whether you're trying to understand why a character in a book acts a certain way, or you're navigating a tricky social situation at work, or even just trying to tell someone how you're feeling physically.
Yeah.
Having a rich vocabulary in these domains, it's essential for communicating clearly and effectively. You need the right words.
Totally agree. So that brings us to our mission for today's deep dive.
Which is?
We want to equip you, our listener, with that vocabulary. We want to give you the tools, the words, the phrases to express yourself more precisely when you're talking about personalities.
Yours or someone else's.
Exactly. And also to feel more confident and knowledgeable when you're discussing anything related to the body, from basic parts to those sometimes confusing idioms.
Sounds like a plan. It's all about building that confidence and fluency.
All right, let's dive right in then, shall we? We'll kick things off with those personality expressions. Seems like a good place to start.
Okay. So, as you mentioned, Vanessa covered almost 100 personality expressions in just that 1 hour, which is pretty impressive density.
100? Wow. How did she structure that? Just a list?
No, not just a list, thankfully. Her approach was actually quite interesting. She used a kind of informal personality test.
A personality test, like Myers-Briggs or something?
Not quite that formal, more like a series of 6 thought-provoking questions designed to make you think about different aspects of personality.
Okay, I see. And I seem to recall from watching it, she had some thoughts on personality tests in general.
She did, yeah. She was quite upfront about it. Candid, as you said earlier. She basically expressed a personal skepticism.
Skepticism about their accuracy? Or what?
About relying on them too heavily, Relying on these external quizzes to definitively label who you are. She felt our self-understanding shouldn't necessarily be boxed in by predefined categories.
Right, okay. Fair enough. A lot of people feel that way, but she still used the test format.
Yes. And this is where, as you put it, it gets really interesting. She made this brilliant pivot. She acknowledged her skepticism, but then immediately highlighted how valuable these kinds of questions, these kinds of reflections, are for learning vocabulary.
Ah, I get it. So even if you don't buy into the specific test result, the process of thinking about, say, whether you're organized or spontaneous.
Exactly. That process opens up a whole world of descriptive language. It forces you to consider different facets of character.
So the goal wasn't psychological profiling.
Not at all. The aim was purely linguistic, using these common personality considerations, things we all think about, as a springboard.
A springboard to introduce all the relevant English vocabulary. Adjectives, nouns.
Precisely. All the words we can use to articulate those traits, whether we see them in ourselves or in other people.
That's actually a really smart teaching approach. Sure. Makes it more engaging than just memorizing lists.
It really does. And she didn't just stop there either. It wasn't just her presenting words in isolation.
Oh.
Well, she went the extra mile. At the end of the video, there's this great segment where you see 5 native English speakers, friends, I think, actually describing each other using some of the vocabulary she just taught.
Oh, that's fantastic, because seeing it used naturally in spontaneous conversation, that provides such crucial context, doesn't it?
Absolutely crucial. Hearing how native speakers actually apply these terms, the connotations, the nuances, how it plays out in real-time interaction, that adds a layer of understanding you just don't get from definitions alone.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so let's get into those 6 personality questions she used. What was the first one?
The first one centered on organization. Basically, are your travel plans generally organized? What about your home and office? Are they pretty tidy? That sort of thing.
Right, the classic, organized versus maybe more spontaneous type. So if you lean towards organized, what vocabulary did she offer?
Well, some straightforward positive options first. Simply organized, obviously, then put together.
Put together. I like that. It suggests someone who's well-prepared, in control.
Exactly. And similar to that, the more idiomatic phrase, have it together.
She really has it together. Yeah, implies a general sense of competence, like they're on top of things.
Right. And then she also brought in the idea of being a type.
Ah, type A personality. That's a common one.
Yeah, very common informal label. Used to describe someone often highly driven, ambitious, organized, maybe a bit more focused on achievement, deadlines. It instantly conveys a whole cluster of traits.
It does. And she included qualifiers, too, you mentioned.
Yes, which was thoughtful. Qualifiers like somewhat, kind of, pretty. So you could say, I'm kind of a type, or pretty organized.
That's important, isn't it? Because these things aren't usually black and white. Most people are somewhere on a spectrum.
Exactly. Very few people are at the absolute extremes. Then she also offered the word doer.
A doer. Someone who takes action, gets things done, proactive.
Yeah. And finally, for this side, the simple adjective clean, referring specifically to the tidiness of physical spaces.
Makes sense. We often link a clean desk to an organized mind, rightly or wrongly.
Well, it can certainly lead others to infer a sense of internal orderliness, even if that's not always the reality inside someone's head.
True. Okay, so that's the organized, tidy side. What if your answer to that first question leaned the other way? More towards spontaneous, maybe a bit messy.
Right. So you might describe yourself simply as spontaneous, highlighting that preference for the unplanned, going with the flow.
Or maybe creative. Sometimes people link creativity with a less rigid environment.
She did mention creative as a possible positive spin, yeah. Suggesting that maybe a less structured space fosters innovation, thinking outside the box.
And the opposite of A-type.
Is B-type, yeah. Generally seen as more relaxed, less competitive, maybe less driven by strict schedules and deadlines, more laid back.
Okay. But were there also some words with a more negative connotation in this category?
Yes, she made sure to include those too for balance, like the word scatterbrain.
Scatterbrain, yeah, that doesn't sound very complimentary.
It isn't, usually. And she made a really crucial point here. While you might jokingly call yourself scatterbrained sometimes.
Yeah, in a self-deprecating way.
Exactly. But it's generally considered impolite, even quite rude, to call someone else scatterbrained. It implies they're disorganized and maybe a bit incompetent.
Good point. That distinction between self-description and describing others is vital, especially with potentially negative terms.
Absolutely vital. Self-deprecating humor is one thing, but labeling others negatively is rarely okay. And then, of course, she included the more direct negative words. Not clean and messy. Pretty straightforward.
Right. Okay, that covers the first question. Let's unpack the second one. What was that about?
The second question tackled stress and resilience. It was, is it easy to stay relaxed even when you have pressure? Do small events not change how you feel about the rest of the day?
Ah, okay. How we handle pressure. Big one. So if your answer was yes, you stay pretty calm.
Then Vanessa provided a really nice range of positive adjectives. Easygoing was one.
Easygoing, relaxed, unbothered.
Yeah. Or the more emphatic phrase, nothing phases me.
Nothing phases me. Like you're unflappable, not easily disturbed or upset.
Exactly. Then there was optimistic, obviously focusing on a positive outlook, and even keeled.
Even keeled. I like that one. It implies consistency, stability.
Right. A stable emotional state, not prone to dramatic mood swings. She actually used it about her husband in another video, I think, valuing that trait.
Ah, interesting. It suggests that emotional balance, weathering the ups and downs without getting thrown off course.
Precisely. Then she also listed confident, suggesting self-assurance, calm, implying inner peace, and rational.
Rational. So logical, clear-headed, even when things get stressful.
That's the idea. Keeping your head when others might be losing theirs.
Okay. Now, flip side, what if you do find you get easily stressed if small things do affect your day?
Right. Then you might be described as sensitive. And Vanessa made a good point here. Sensitive isn't automatically negative.
No, it can mean you're empathetic, perceptive.
Exactly. It just means you experience emotions, perhaps external stimuli, more keenly. But then she contrasted that with emotional, which can sometimes imply less control, and especially with moody.
Moody. Yeah, that definitely leans more negative, doesn't it? Suggests unpredictable shifts in temperament, maybe being easily irritated.
It does carry that stronger negative weight than just emotional. And then came a whole cluster of words with clearly negative connotations.
Uh-oh. Like what?
Pessimistic, for someone who generally expects the worst. Then uptight.
Uptight. Tense. Unable to relax. Maybe overly concerned with rules or propriety.
Yeah. Also anxious, high-strung, which is similar to uptight, suggesting nervousness and tension, worry. Obviously someone who worries a lot.
Seems like a lot of words for this state.
It does. And she finished with a pretty strong one. Neurotic.
Neurotic. Okay, that sounds quite clinical almost. Suggests a more pervasive pattern of anxiety, worry, maybe obsessive thoughts. Definitely negative.
Very much so. It's quite a strong label. It's really interesting, though, just how many words English has specifically for this stressed and anxious end of the spectrum.
It probably reflects, the common human experience of dealing with stress and anxiety. It's a big part of life for many people.
I think so. And again, Vanessa's caution about using these negative labels on others is so important here. It's more about recognizing these tendencies in ourselves, perhaps, or understanding them with empathy when we see them in others.
Right. Not using them as weapons or quick judgments.
Definitely not.
Okay, moving on. Question 3. This was actually a set of related questions, wasn't it?
Yes, 3 parts. How do you feel introducing yourself to strangers? Do you often feel tired after socializing? And do you prefer solitary activities?
Ah, okay. Clearly tapping into the whole introversion versus extroversion spectrum.
Exactly. That's the core theme here. So if your answers lean towards yes, tired after socializing, prefer being alone, the introverted side.
What words did she offer for that?
Terms like reserved, suggesting someone who is perhaps private, doesn't readily share thoughts or feelings. Shy, indicating discomfort or nervousness in social situations.
Timid. Did she include that?
She did. Timid, implying a lack of confidence or boldness, especially in social interactions. And then the straightforward label, introverted.
Introverted, which is becoming a much more neutral and understood term these days, I think.
Definitely. And she also included the simple descriptive phrase, prefer small groups.
Oh, I like that. I prefer small groups. It's so clear, non-judgmental, just states a preference.
Exactly. Very useful. Now, if your answer is pointed the other way, you enjoy meeting strangers, feel energized by socializing.
The extroverted side.
Right. Then you might be described as outgoing. Sociable, friendly, enjoys being around others.
Or life of the party.
She mentioned that one, life of the party, but she immediately added a really wise caveat.
Which was?
That it's generally a compliment best given by others, rather than something you'd typically say about yourself.
Ah, good point. Saying I'm the life of the party might sound a bit arrogant.
Could easily come across that way, yeah. A bit of humility goes a long way. Then, of course, the direct antonym, extroverted.
Makes sense. Any other phrases?
Yes, descriptive phrases like at ease in social situations, suggesting comfort and confidence around people. Take initiative.
Take initiative. What did she mean by that exactly?
She clarified it means being proactive in social settings, starting conversations, organizing things, not just passively waiting for others.
Okay, got it. Being the one to make the first move, socially speaking.
Right. And finally, the simple adjective social, just generally enjoying company and interaction.
Okay, clear distinction between introverted and extroverted options there. Let's move to question 4. This one seemed a bit more philosophical.
Yeah, it delved into our inner worlds versus the outer world. Do you often get lost in thought and kind of forget your surroundings? Do you often think about the meaning of life?
Right. Getting at that difference between being maybe introspective or deep versus being more grounded and practical?
Exactly. So if your answer was yes, you get lost in thought, you contemplate big questions.
Then you might be described as
deep. But again, like life of the party, this is often seen as a compliment when said by others. It implies thoughtfulness, insightfulness.
Calling yourself deep might sound a bit pretentious.
It could, yeah. She also offered the phrase, care about finding truth, as a more explicit way to describe that intellectual curiosity, wanting to understand fundamental things.
Okay. But then she contrasted that with some more critical terms.
Yes, like critical itself, which can be neutral or negative depending on context. And then the definitely negative word, cynical.
Cynical? Yeah, that implies a distrust of others, negativity, assuming the worst motives. Always negative.
Always negative. And for those who really tend to drift off into their own world, she offered dreamer.
Dreamer. Can be positive, suggesting imagination, but maybe also impracticality.
Exactly. It has that ambiguity. Then the phrase, live in my head, emphasizing that focus on internal thoughts over external reality.
And a million miles away.
Yeah, that one's definitely more negative. Suggests being disengaged, not present. And this sort of culminated in the very negative term, airhead.
Ouch. Airhead. Implying someone is ditzy, lacks serious thought, maybe isn't very intelligent. Definitely insulting.
Very insulting. So you see this real spectrum from profound, deep thought at one end to simply being disconnected and, well, an airhead at the other.
Quite a range. Now, what if your answer to those lost-in-thought questions was no, you're more present, more practical?
Right. Then you might be described as alert, aware of your surroundings, attentive, or detail-oriented.
Detail-oriented, focusing on the specifics, the nuances, often seen as a positive trait, especially at work.
Very much so. And she included astute.
Astute, that's a great word. Suggests sharp-mindedness, good judgment, perceptive. Good for job interviews, perhaps.
Definitely a good one for professional contexts. Aware is similar to alert. And then she introduced realist.
A realist. Someone who sees things as they are, without illusions. Grounded.
Yes. And closely related. Practical. Emphasizing a focus on what works, on tangible outcomes, effective action, rather than abstract theories. Dealing with the world pragmatically.
Okay, makes sense. Question 5. This tackled being unwavering versus being flexible, right?
Exactly. The question was, when you want something, do you often not change your mind? Gets into persistence versus adaptability.
So if you don't often change your mind, you stick to your guns.
But then you might be described positively as diligent, hardworking, and careful or motivated. Both generally good traits, especially professionally.
But then it can tip over into less desirable territory.
It can, yes. She moved into words suggesting maybe too much rigidity, like stubborn, obvious.
Stubborn, yeah, classic negative.
And the very emphatic idiom, stubborn as a mule, really paints a picture.
It certainly does. Any others in that vein?
Headstrong, which is similar to stubborn, implying a willful determination that might ignore advice or warnings. Adamant.
Adamant, meaning you're firmly sticking to your opinion or decision, refusing to be persuaded.
Right. And opinionated. Now, this one's tricky. Having opinions is fine, but opinionated often implies expressing them too strongly or dogmatically.
Yeah, Vanessa cautioned about the delivery, didn't she? How you express those opinions matters.
Hugely. Because if you're not careful, opinionated can easily slide into pushy.
Pushy. Trying to impose your views or desires on others. Always negative.
Always negative. Then there was persistent.
Persistent can be good, like not giving up easily, but also bad.
Exactly. It depends on the context. Persistently pursuing a goal can be admired. Persistently trying to sell someone something they don't want is annoying.
Yeah.
And finally, bossy.
Bossy, yeah. Telling people what to do in a forceful, unwelcome way. Usually used negatively, especially historically, towards women, unfortunately.
Back to the very relevant point about its usage, yes. Okay, so that's the unwavering, sometimes stubborn end. What about the other side? More flexible, willing to change your mind.
Right, if you're more adaptable.
Then you've got a nice set of generally positive words. Flexible, obviously. Compliant, meaning willing to agree or obey. Reasonable, suggesting you listen to logic and fairness.
Open-minded.
Yes, open-minded, willing to consider new ideas. And agreeable, pleasant, and easy to get along with. Generally, these are seen as positive qualities.
But there's a potential downside here, too.
There is. She pointed out the word submissive.
Submissive. Okay, that sounds potentially negative.
It often is. It suggests someone who yields too easily, who perhaps never stands up for their own needs or beliefs.
Leading to
the rather vivid idiom, get walked on.
Get walked on, like a doormat. People take advantage of you.
Exactly. She used that doormat analogy. It really drives home the negative consequence of being too passive, too compliant. You lose your own agency.
So it's about finding that balance. Flexibility is good, but not at the expense of self-respect.
Precisely. Standing up for yourself, as she put it, is crucial. You need to be able to advocate for your own needs and boundaries.
Makes perfect sense. Okay, the final question, number 6. This was about hospitality.
Yes, hospitality and generosity. When people come over to your house, when guests come, do they feel comfortable? Do you go above and beyond what is necessary to take care of them? Explores warmth and giving.
Nice. So if the answer is yes, you're welcoming and generous.
Then there's a lovely collection of positive words. Hospitable, obviously, nice, friendly, good starting points.
But she had a warning about one word, didn't she? Especially for learners from certain language backgrounds.
She did. A really critical warning about the word sympathetic.
Sympathetic, what was the issue?
Well, for speakers of Romance languages, the cognate often just means nice or likable. But in English, while it can relate to being kind, its primary meaning is about understanding and sharing someone's sorrow or difficulty, feeling sympathy for someone.
Ah, okay. So if you say he's very sympathetic, an English speaker might think you mean he's good at comforting people who are sad, not just that he's a nice guy.
Exactly. Her example was perfect. If someone loses their job, you feel sympathetic towards them. It's about sharing negative feelings. Using it just to mean nice or friendly can lead to real misunderstandings.
That's a super important distinction, a common false friend issue. So what words should be used for general warmth and kindness?
Words like compassionate, showing care for others' suffering, considerate, thinking about others' feelings, generous, willing to give time, money, or kindness, warm, warm-hearted, all much better choices for general friendliness.
Well, warm-hearted, yeah, they convey that welcoming feeling. Others.
Helpful, obviously. Down to earth.
Down to earth, what does that mean exactly?
She explained it well with a celebrity example. It means someone, maybe someone important or famous, who is still natural, unpretentious, relatable, not putting on airs.
Got it. Likeable because they seem normal.
Yeah. And finally, sincere and genuine, meaning authentic, not fake, and dependable, someone you can rely on. It paints this picture of someone truly caring, authentic, reliable.
A very positive image indeed. And the negatives for someone less welcoming.
Pretty straightforward. Unpleasant, selfish, and self-centered. All clearly negative, implying a lack of consideration or generosity.
Okay. Wow. That was a journey through personality vocabulary. Let's take a breath and maybe unpack this first big section a bit. Almost 100 terms.
It really was a whirlwind tour, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What strikes me most, looking back at all those words, is just the sheer subtlety, the nuance within each category. It's not just organized versus messy. It's organized, put together, have it together, a type. Each carries a slightly different shade of meaning.
That's true. Or the difference between sensitive, which could be positive, and moody, which is definitely negative.
Exactly. Or deep versus airhead. Understanding these finer distinctions is what allows for really precise, really effective communication when we talk about people.
And I have to say, structuring it around those self-assessment questions, that was really engaging as a learning method. It makes you actively think, which of these words actually fits me? Or which fits my friend?
It does. It connects the language directly to real-world observation and self-reflection. It's not just abstract vocabulary.
So if we zoom out, look at the bigger picture here. What's the real value of having this huge arsenal of personality words?
Well, I think it goes beyond just having more labels. It's about cultivating a deeper, more nuanced understanding of human behavior itself.
How so?
The more words we have to describe these complex traits, the better equipped we are to first articulate our own observations with clarity and precision, and second, maybe approach others with a bit more empathy and understanding. We see the shades of gray, not just black and white.
That's a great point. Having the language helps shape the understanding. So what does this all mean for you listening right now?
Well, hopefully you've picked up quite a few new words and phrases to add to your vocabulary toolbox.
Yeah, words you can use to describe yourself, maybe in a job interview or just in conversation, and also to describe the people in your life, friends, family, colleagues.
And having that ability, being able to articulate someone's personality with accuracy, but also with sensitivity, that can genuinely foster better understanding and smoother communication in all sorts of settings, personal, professional.
Definitely. Think about describing a difficult colleague or understanding a character's motivation in a film.
Absolutely. And beyond direct communication, this vocabulary significantly boosts your comprehension skills when you're consuming English language media.
Right. Books, movies, TV shows, even other podcasts. Character descriptions are everywhere, and they're often rich with exactly these kinds of adjectives and nouns. Understanding them adds a whole new layer.
You start to pick up on the subtleties the author or screenwriter intended.
Makes total sense. Okay, we have thoroughly explored the fascinating, complex landscape of personality expressions. Shall we shift gears?
Let's do it. Time to move on to the second major part of Vanessa's lesson, vocabulary related to the human body.
And again, she covered a huge amount here too, didn't she? Another 100 or so expressions?
Pretty much, yeah. It was a really comprehensive anatomical tour, but crucially combined with idioms.
How did she approach this section?
Very systematically.
Yeah.
Started right at the top of the head and worked your way down section by section all the way to the feet.
Logical. And you said this kind of fundamental vocabulary is crucial.
Absolutely crucial for everyday chat, for understanding health information, doctor's visits, and like we said, for getting a handle on all those figurative expressions, the idioms that are built around body parts. English is full of them.
Okay, so where did she start? Top of the head.
Yep. Began with the head itself, and almost immediately she introduced a really useful idiom off the top of my head.
Ah, yeah. I don't know the exact figure off the top of my head. Means without checking, spontaneously.
Exactly. Speaking without needing to look it up or think too hard, a great way to preface an estimate or an answer you're not 100% sure about.
Very common phrase. Okay, after head.
Moved on to hair. Covered the basic color words brown, black, and the specific terms brunette for brown hair, blonde, or blonde.
Ah, noting the E for women, traditionally.
Right. And redhead or ginger. And she made that important point about ginger sometimes being a bit sensitive.
Yeah, it can sometimes be used teasingly or even pejoratively in some places, like the UK. Good to be aware of that potential nuance.
Definitely. Then came the basic face anatomy, scalp, forehead, eyebrows, eyelids, eyelashes.
Standard stuff. But she added a specific note here.
She did, which was really thoughtful. Specifically for her Asian audience, she mentioned monolid and double eyelid.
Okay.
And explained that while these terms are common in some Asian cultures and languages, they're actually not commonly used or even widely understood in everyday Western English. People would usually just say eyelid.
Oh, that's fascinating. Another example of cultural specificity in language. So, sticking to the general term eyelid is usually safer in broader English contexts?
Generally, yes. Unless you're in a very specific discussion where that distinction is relevant, eyelid is the standard.
Good to know.
Okay, next.
Move to eyes. And the classic idiom, one I bet many learners have encountered, don't roll your eyes at me.
Huh. Yes, usually from a parent or teacher. Expresses annoyance, disbelief, exasperation. Very visual.
Very visual and pretty universal in its meaning, I think. Then she covered cheeks, ears, and earlobe, mentioning pierced earlobe as a common thing.
And another idiom with ears.
Yes, a really useful one. I'm all ears.
I'm all ears. Meaning, I'm listening intently, tell me more. Very direct and enthusiastic way to show you're ready to listen.
Exactly, really positive. The nose, including the parts bridge the nose and nostrils. And then onto the mouth.
The mouth area. Lots going on there.
Lips, gums, teeth, tongue, the basics. But yeah, this area is just packed with idioms in English.
Okay, give us some examples she covered.
Well, there's my lips are sealed.
My lips are sealed. Classic way to promise you'll keep a secret. Won't say a word. Right. Then have a sweet tooth.
Not a literal sweet tooth. It means you love sugary foods, cakes, candies.
Exactly. A craving for sweets. And that incredibly relatable one. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Yes, that frustrating feeling. You know it, but you just can't recall the word or name right now. So common.
Happens to everyone. Then moving down slightly, the chin. And the lovely, encouraging idiom, keep your chin up.
Yeah. Stay positive. Don't get discouraged, especially when facing difficulties. A message of hope.
It is. Below that, the neck. And the idiom, stick my neck out for someone.
Stick my neck out, meaning take a risk. Put yourself in a vulnerable position to help or support somebody else.
Yeah, Vanessa's explanation linking it to literally exposing a vulnerable body part like an animal might really makes the meaning memorable, the sense of risk involved.
It does. And finally, for the head neck area.
Face. And the idiom, put on a face or put on a happy face.
Ah, yes. Projecting an emotion outwardly, usually happiness or calmness, even if you don't feel that way inside. Pretending to be okay.
Exactly. Like putting on a brave face in a difficult situation. Something most of us have probably done.
Very relatable. Okay, that covers the head and neck. Let's journey down to the upper body. Shoulders first.
Shoulders first, yes. And the rather unfriendly idiom, give someone the cold shoulder.
Right. To intentionally ignore someone, treat them in an unfriendly, aloof way. Show displeasure without confrontation.
Precisely. Then chest, which she noted is the general polite term for both men and women. And the idiom, get something off my chest.
Get something off my chest. To confess or talk about something that's been worrying you or bothering you usually brings a sense of relief.
That feeling of relief is key, yeah. Next, anatomically, armpits, then arms. And an idiom with arms.
Twist someone's arm.
That's the one. Twist someone's arm means to persuade or pressure someone quite strongly to do something they were initially reluctant about. Often used playfully, too, like, oh, go on, you twisted my arm, meaning you persuaded me.
Right. Then elbow, and the phrase, need some elbow room.
Which literally means needing more physical space to move comfortably, but can also be used figuratively, like needing more freedom or independence in a situation.
Ah, okay. Then wrist and hand. And the super common helpful idiom, give someone a hand.
Meaning, of course, to help or assist someone. Can you give me a hand with these boxes? Very everyday usage.
Definitely. What about the parts of the hand?
She covered palm, fingers, and thumb, and included that pronunciation tip. The K in knuckle is silent.
Silent pay. Good reminder. Knuckle. Did she mention idioms with knuckles?
She briefly mentioned knuckle sandwich, but quickly advised against using it.
Because it means?
A punch in the mouth.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely not one for a polite conversation, just good to recognize if you hear it. She also covered fingerprint and fingernail.
Okay. And the names of the fingers?
Yep, went through them. Pinky, or more formal little finger. Ring finger, where wedding rings traditionally go. Middle finger.
The one with the warning.
Exactly. She rightly cautioned about the rude, offensive gesture associated with raising just the middle finger in many Western cultures. Crucial cultural awareness there.
Very crucial for learners to know, then.
Pointer finger, or index finger, used for pointing, and thumb.
Got it. What came after hands? Moving to the torso?
Yes. She used the general term chest area as a polite, slightly vague way to refer to that part of the torso. Then collarbone, the bone connecting the shoulder to the sternum, ribs, and the full structure rib cage.
Okay. And lower down?
Belly button or navel, a universal feature. Then stomach, or the more informal belly.
And an idiom related to the stomach area.
Yes, a really insightful one. Trust your gut.
Trust your gut, meaning trust your intuition, your instinctive feeling about a situation or person, even if you can't logically explain it.
Exactly. It speaks to that idea of innate wisdom, an inner voice, a very powerful idiom.
It is. All right, we've covered the upper body. Time to continue the journey down to the lower body.
Lower body, it is. Starting with hips. Then, for the genital area, she used the polite, general term, private parts.
A good, safe term to use. Any others?
She mentioned crotch, but noted it's mainly used when referring to men, often regarding clothing fit, and groin.
Groin. Where's that exactly?
The area where the legs meet the torso, the inner thigh muscles, often used medically, or when talking about sports injuries, like a groin strain.
Ah, okay. Then the main parts of the leg.
Leg, obviously. Knee, again, reminding us of the silent K. Then butt, with the more polite alternatives being backside or bum.
Bum is quite common in British English, maybe slightly informal. Backside feels a bit more neutral.
Good distinction. Then thigh, the upper part of the leg. Shin, the front part of the lower leg. She noted this is a bit more technical.
Right, you might talk about banging your shin on something.
Exactly. And the back of the lower leg is the calf. She helpfully pointed out this is also the word for a baby cow, and the L is silent.
Calf.
Silent pelf. Got it. Okay, nearly there. Down to the feet. Finally, the soot. Plural feet, of course. Then ankle, the joint connecting the foot and leg. She added a practical warning, don't twist your ankle.
Good advice. Always painful. Then toes. Any specific toe names?
Just the big toe and the little toe are the ones with common individual names in English. The ones in between are just toes.
Fair enough. What about the bottom of the foot?
She covered the foot arch, or the arch of my foot, and the heel, the back part. And importantly pointed out the spelling difference.
Right. H-E-E-L for the foot part versus H-E-A-L for getting better or recovering from injury. Homophones. Easy to mix up in writing.
Very easy. And she wrapped up this entire body section with one last really great positive idiom.
Which was?
Put my best foot forward.
Ah, yes. To make the best possible impression, try your hardest, be well prepared, especially when starting something new or meeting important people. Great idiom.
It really is. Universally applicable advice, too.
So looking back at this whole body section, what's the takeaway? It's more than just anatomy, right?
Oh, much more. What's fascinating is how seamlessly Vanessa blended the basic anatomical terms, which everyone needs, with this incredibly rich layer of idiomatic expressions.
And these idioms, they tell us something.
I think they offer a fascinating glimpse into, well, cultural attitudes and the ways English speakers think metaphorically about their bodies and the actions they perform. Sticking your neck out, getting something off your chest, trusting your gut. These aren't literal. They're metaphors grounded in physical experience.
That's a really interesting way to look at it. So, practically speaking, what does this extensive body vocabulary mean for you, the listener, in your daily life?
Well, first off, the anatomical stuff is just essential for practical, everyday communication. Talking about aches and pains, describing people, understanding instructions.
Going to the doctor, for instance. You need to be able to say, my ankle hurts, or I have a pain in my chest.
Exactly. But beyond that, the idioms add so much color and depth. They're everywhere. In spoken English, in movies, in songs. Understanding them is key to understanding native speakers when they communicate more figuratively, more expressively.
Yeah, you start noticing them everywhere once you know them. Give me a hand, keep your chin up, off the top of my head. Oh, they're constant.
Constant. And knowing them really enhances your overall comprehension. You're not just getting the literal meaning, you're getting the cultural nuance, the metaphor.
It also helps you sound more natural when you start using some of them yourself, I suppose.
Definitely. Using idioms correctly in the right context is a big step towards fluency. And understanding body language idioms also helps decode actual body language sometimes, or at least the way we talk about it.
Makes sense. So it enriches your understanding on multiple levels: practical, cultural, linguistic.
Absolutely. It's foundational vocabulary, but with layers of meaning.
Okay, fantastic. So to kind of bring this deep dive towards a close then, we've really covered a lot of ground today, thanks to Vanessa's video.
We certainly have. Two major areas of advanced vocabulary.
First, we explored that huge range of personality expressions, giving you, hopefully, almost 100 different ways to describe the nuances of character your own and others.
Looking at everything from organization and stress management to introversion-extroversion, thoughtfulness, flexibility, and generosity.
And second, we took that systematic journey through the human body, covering essential anatomical terms from head to toe.
But also unlocking the meaning behind dozens of common and incredibly useful body-related idioms.
We really tried to delve into the subtle differences in meaning, especially with the personality words, and highlighted how important context is.
And looked at how these words and phrases actually show up in real-world conversations and media, using Vanessa's examples and the native speaker interactions she included.
So a massive thank you for joining us on this pretty detailed exploration today. We really, really appreciate you spending your time with us.
Yeah, it's been a real pleasure digging into this source material. It's packed with practical, useful language.
It really was, and hopefully you feel a bit more equipped now. Which leads me to a final thought, something for you to maybe ponder on your own.
Okay.
Now that you have this significantly expanded vocabulary for describing personality, I wonder, how might consciously trying to use these more specific words actually change the way you perceive and describe yourself and the people around you? Does having more precise language refine your observations?
Ooh, that's a deep question. Does the language shape the thought?
Maybe. Or, thinking about all those body idioms we discussed, trust your gut, stick your neck out, cold shoulder. What insights do they collectively offer? What do they tell you about how English speakers maybe subconsciously conceptualize their bodies, their feelings, and their actions in a more metaphorical way?
That's fascinating, too, how the physical becomes the basis for the abstract. Lots to think about there.
Definitely something to mull over. And with those thoughts swirling, we'll say goodbye for now. Thanks again, sincerely, for tuning in to The Deep Dive.
Until next time.
And you knew it was coming, just one last friendly reminder. If you found this deep dive valuable, if you learned something useful today, please do head over and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Your support really does help us continue making these explorations. We hugely appreciate it. We are diving deep, like really deep, into the world of everyday English conversations. These are the chats, the little interactions that happen all the time.
Right, the ones that seem simple on the surface, but actually they're packed with clues about language, culture, how we, connect with each other.
Exactly. And for this exploration, we're looking at a source, a YouTube video, that basically shows a whole bunch of these daily interactions.
It's a great resource, actually. Covers everything from like saying hello for the first time at work to trickier situations, all using real-sounding dialogue.
So our mission today, if you want to call it that, is to pull out the important bits from these chats. We want to look at what people are saying, obviously, but maybe more importantly, why they're saying it that way.
And the little nuances, the things under the surface. The goal is really to help you feel, more confident navigating these kinds of everyday talks.
Because there's such a variety of situations in the source material, right? It gives us a really broad picture of how native speakers adjust their language depending on who they're talking to and what's going on.
Precisely. It's not just one scenario repeated, it's dynamic.
Okay, let's jump right in then. First up, introductions at work. The video starts with Alice, David, Sophia, and Alan meeting. Initial thoughts on how they introduced themselves.
Well, the first thing that struck me was how efficient it was. Just, hi, I'm, and then their name. It's pretty standard in like a lot of English-speaking workplaces. Straight to the point.
Functional.
Yeah, but then Alice, she adds a little more, right? She says her department, but also mentions photography, liking sunset pictures.
Right, that little extra detail. It's not just, I work here. It immediately makes her seem more, well, like a person, not just a job title.
Exactly. It's a subtle rapport building thing. An icebreaker.
Yeah.
Then you have David, the new guy.
Yeah. I just joined the company last week. I'm in the IT department. Again, very clear, essential info.
But then he adds that bit, I'm still learning how everything works, so I might ask a lot of questions.
Which is smart, I think. It's polite, obviously, but it's also like managing expectations up front.
Totally. It's proactive communication.
Yeah.
He's saying, look, I'm new. I'm going to need some help. And that kind of invites the support, shows he's willing to learn.
And lowers the pressure on him, maybe, to seem like he knows everything on day one.
For sure. And look at the responses he gets.
Yeah.
Sophia jumps in with, that's totally fine. We've all been here.
Yeah. And Alan adds, just ask if you need help. Sophia again, yes. Don't hesitate to reach out. It's so welcoming.
It really highlights that supportive side of, a good team environment, offering help, and David being open to needing it. It sets a positive tone right away.
These little phrases, they seem small, but they build that collaborative feel, don't they?
Absolutely. They're like social glue. Phatic expressions, technically. Yeah. Their main job isn't conveying complex information. It's about building those connections, making David feel comfortable asking later.
And it wasn't all super formal either. Sophia throws in that comment about the coffee.
Right. Agreed. The best part is the free coffee, which is, relatable.
And Alan's reply, haha, I see coffee is important to the team. It just lightens the mood.
Yeah, that little bit of humor, it breaks down barriers, makes it feel less like a stuffy meeting and more like, people connecting, shows that shared understanding, even if it's just about coffee.
It's key for camaraderie, isn't it? Those small moments.
Definitely. Okay, so shifting gears quite a bit now. Let's talk about insomnia.
Yes. The late night brain buzz. The video has this chat between friends about not being able to sleep. Super common experience.
Oh, yeah. And the language they use really captures it, doesn't it? Ugh, I can't sleep. It's driving me crazy. You can almost feel the frustration.
Totally. And the descriptions, brain won't shut off, mind running in circles. They're great metaphors for that internal chaos.
Yeah, very vivid. So Leo gives some suggestions. What did you make of those?
Well, counting sheep is the classic one, isn't it? Feels almost like something from a cartoon. I always wonder if that actually works for anyone.
Yeah, it's very traditional. It probably dates back ages. The idea being the monotony would, bore your brain to sleep. Its actual effectiveness, probably debatable now.
Right. But the other suggestions seem more, practical. No screens for 30 minutes.
That was based on sleep hygiene. The blue light thing interfering with melatonin makes sense.
And drink some warm milk and take deep breaths.
Also pretty standard relaxation techniques. Warm milk has tryptophan, supposedly helps sleep, and deep breathing calms the nervous system. So some logic there.
But the reaction to the warm milk was funny. Warm milk? I'm not a baby, Leo.
Yeah, that skepticism. It shows their dynamic, right? That playful pushback you get with good friends. Maybe a cultural thing, too, associating warm milk with kids.
Totally. It adds that layer of realism. It's not just, here's advice, okay, thanks. There's banter.
Exactly. And it wraps up with an agreement to try, some of it anyway, and that little bet.
If this works, I owe you coffee tomorrow.
Yeah, just a lighthearted wager. Low stakes, keeps it from feeling too heavy, and it implies they'll follow up on it.
Reinforces the friendship, too. Okay, let's move on again. The first day at a new job. Always a bit nerve-wracking.
Oh, definitely. And the conversation captures that feeling of being overwhelmed perfectly. It's just sensory overload, isn't it? New place, new faces, new rules.
And the name thing. I remember faces, but names, not a chance.
So relatable. Why is that so hard?
Well, our brains often process visual stuff like faces differently from auditory info like names. Plus, you're meeting lots of people at once. It's tough. The advice given is gold, though. So simple. Just smile and say, hey, you, if you forget.
It's brilliant, isn't it? It avoids the awkwardness, keeps the interaction positive. You acknowledge the person without putting yourself on the spot.
A total face saver.
Definitely. Then there's the idiom, hit the ground running.
Yes. Employers love that one. Means start fast, get going immediately.
Right. Basically, no time to relax, as the explanation says. But think about how that feels for the new person.
Yeah, it sounds positive, like you're eager, but it can actually add to the stress, right? You're still trying to figure out where the bathroom is, and you're expected to be, like, instantly productive.
Exactly. There can be a real disconnect between that expectation and the reality of needing time to adjust, learn, settle in. It can lead to feeling exhausted, just like the person says.
Sets you up for burnout almost, if the pressure's too high from the start.
It can, yeah. But I like the ending of that check.
Me too. But hey, you survived your first day. That's a win.
Such a simple but important sentiment, acknowledging that just getting through it is an achievement.
Breaks it down into manageable steps. Good for morale.
Definitely. Focus on the small wins when things feel overwhelming.
Okay, next scenario. This one's about aspirations, dreaming of travel, specifically visiting America.
Ugh. The American Dream Travel Edition. Very common goal.
And the immediate reaction in the dialogue is quite practical, isn't it? You should. But America is huge.
Yeah, straight away acknowledging the scale. You can't just say, visit America. You need to narrow it down.
So the choice becomes New York, which makes sense. It's so iconic, especially because of media. Like the person says, I see it in movies all the time.
Oh, absolutely. Film and TV create such a powerful, often romanticized image of places like New York. The landmarks, the energy.
Yeah, the description matches that perfectly. Never sleeps, loud, busy, and full of energy.
It captures that common perception. Maybe not the place for a quiet, relaxing holiday, though.
Probably not. And they mention the big sites, Times Square, Central Park, Broadway, staples of the movie version of New York.
Exactly. Then the conversation takes a very specific turn to pizza.
Of course. New York pizza. And the immediate comparison is to Italian pizza.
Which is natural, right? Italy being the birthplace. So how is New York pizza different? The dialogue explains it's huge and foldable.
Yeah, you eat it like this, with the implied fold. It's practical, fits the fast-paced city vibe. Eat it on the go.
It's part of the experience, not just the taste. That foldability is key.
And the final bit of advice about walking.
Yes. Walk fast and don't just stop in the middle of the sidewalk.
Or else someone will yell at you. Sounds about right.
It's one of those unwritten rules of big cities, isn't it? Keep the flow moving. Don't be that tourist.
Good practical tip, though. Okay, let's shift from places to people. Sibling dynamics.
Ooh, a rich topic. So many variations.
The description here is great. Having an older brother and a younger sister is like being stuck in the middle of a sandwich.
It's a fantastic analogy. Really captures that feeling some middle children describe, being kind of squeezed between the others.
And the conversation touches on common dynamics or maybe stereotypes, the favorite younger sister who gets away with everything.
And the older sibling acting like a second dad. These roles pop up a lot in family stories, even if they're not always accurate.
Definitely resonates, though. Then it contrasts this with being an only child.
Right. The perceived pluses, like you get all the attention.
But also the downsides. All the rules are for me. There's no one to blame when something breaks.
Yeah. It shows both sides have their pros and cons, doesn't it? Maybe a bit of grass is greener, thinking sometimes.
And the final line sums it up nicely with that typical sibling humor.
Having siblings isn't so bad. At least there's someone else to take the blame.
Classic. Captures that mix of annoyance and deep down maybe affection, that shared experience.
Exactly, that blend of rivalry and support.
Okay, from family stress to work stress, another very common theme. Feeling overwhelmed, having too much to do.
Oh yeah, that I'm so stressed about work is probably uttered millions of times a day globally.
And the advice given, take a deep breath, stressing won't help. Well-meaning, but
it can feel dismissive. Right. Leading to that frustrated reply.
That's so easy for you to say. You always seem so relaxed. Yeah, it highlights that gap. Someone calm giving generic advice to someone drowning in stress doesn't always land well.
Needs more empathy, maybe? But then there's a shift in perspective.
Right. The idea that no one remembers that urgent email a week later, that's a good one to hang on to.
It really is. Putting things in perspective. So much of what feels critical right now just fades. Learning to see that difference is key to managing stress.
It combats that feeling that everything is urgent and high stakes.
Exactly. And it tackles the fear of mistakes too. But what if I mess up?
And the answer is simple but important. Everyone makes mistakes. It's not the end of the world. Normalizing it.
Crucial. Taking away the catastrophizing. The advice then is just do your best, learn from it, and move on.
Focus on effort and growth, not perfection. And the final point, stop overthinking.
Yes. Overthinking is such a stress amplifier. It gets you stuck in loops. Learning to catch yourself doing it is a huge skill.
Definitely. Okay, let's lighten up again. Weekend chat. What did you do?
Simple stuff. We see a contrast. One person went hiking, very active.
The other stayed home, watched TV, relaxed weekend. Different strokes.
Yep. And this is where we get another idiom. Out like a light.
Explained really clearly, too. It means I fell asleep very fast, like boom, out. The boom really helps visualize it.
It does. Very common way to say you crashed out, slept deeply and quickly.
And the context makes sense after the hiking. Though, ironically.
Ironically, the hiker then says, I couldn't sleep because my legs were so sore from hiking.
So the exercise knocked them out initially, but then the soreness kept them up. The joys of physical activity.
Indeed. Then there's that little exchange about their predictable weekends.
Same old, huh?
Yeah. Some things never change. Just that comfortable banter between friends who know each other's routines.
Familiarity. Nothing wrong with that.
Oh.
Okay, next up, a common urban problem. Noisy neighbors.
The bane of apartment living sometimes. Loud party, can't sleep, instant frustration.
And the dilemma, I don't want to be that person. The one who complains.
Yeah, that social awkwardness around confrontation. You're annoyed, but you also don't want to cause drama or seem like the grumpy neighbor.
So what are the options discussed?
Arrange? From talking nicely, which is the direct but potentially awkward route,
to getting better earplugs, the sort of passive internal solution.
all the way to the joke suggestion of moving to the countryside, which just shows the level of exasperation.
It really covers the spectrum of how people might react, weighing up niceness versus needing sleep.
Exactly. The internal conflict.
Okay, practical matter next. Asking for directions. Someone new trying to find an office.
Starts off politely. Sorry to bother you. I'm new here. Good way to approach a stranger. Sets the context.
Then the transport question. Subway or bus? And the local knowledge comes in.
Take the subway. Traffic in this city is a nightmare. That kind of insider tip is invaluable when you're new.
Saves you a lot of time and frustration.
For sure. And the directions themselves are quite clear. Step by step, line changes mentioned.
And a landmark next to a coffee shop. Visual cues always help.
Definitely makes it easier to spot. And embedded in there, another idiom.
Keep your eyes peeled.
It's plain simply as, it just means look carefully. Again, shows how these phrases are just woven into everyday talk. Understanding them is key.
Makes you feel more fluent, more comfortable when you get those nuances.
Absolutely. Okay, now we're observing someone else's skills. Talking about Kylie, who's apparently very friendly.
Yeah, the observations are specific. She talks to people so easily, and crucially, always remembers people's names.
That name thing again. It's highlighted as a real skill, something that makes a positive impression.
And the speaker admits they struggle with it, mentioning the embarrassment of getting a name wrong. Very relatable feeling.
It is. Names are personal. Forgetting them can feel like a slight, even if it's unintentional.
The suggestion for improvement is simple. Just practice more.
Practicing greeting people more. Treats it like a skill you can develop through repetition. Build confidence. Maybe make it less daunting.
Makes sense. Okay, quick couple of exchanges now. First, health and weather.
Classic small talk combo. Rain, wind, leads to catching a cold. A common belief, even if the science is a bit more complex with viruses.
And the regret. I should have taken an umbrella. We've all been there. Simple, everyday should have.
Yep. And a shift to romantic regret.
The what ifs. I should have invited her to go out sooner. That feeling of a missed opportunity.
It's poignant. And the slightly humorous worry about her finding someone else back home adds that touch of relatable anxiety. Fear of missing out, literally.
Yeah. Okay, back to the workplace, but this time dealing with overwork and some nice compliments.
Right. The feeling of exhaustion is intense. I could have slept standing up. I was so tired. Great imagery for burnout.
After overtime and loads of meetings, understandable. The advice is practical. You should take a day off. Prioritize rest.
Essential sometimes. Then we get this nice exchange.
Your boss is lucky to have a hardworking employee like you.
And the response is really gracious. No. I feel lucky to have a good manager like him. Shows mutual respect.
Yeah, it creates a positive atmosphere. It's good to see that kind of appreciation flowing both ways. And the slightly informal coulda fits the tired, casual chat.
It does, and maybe a hint of wanting to do even more. How I wish I could have been a bit more useful. Shows real dedication.
Okay, next, friends catching up and a funny dinner party mishap.
Cooking steak for guests who turn out to be vegetarian. Oh, dear.
Awkward. The immediate regret. I would have made a salad if I had known they were vegetarians. The classic conditional regret.
Shows the desire to be a good host, cater to guests. The saving grace.
Fortunately, they're easygoing. Phew. Highlights how guest attitude can smooth over host mistakes. Good humor helps.
Definitely. Avoids a potentially very uncomfortable meal.
Next, community spirit and volunteering, or lack thereof. Organizing a local fair.
Sounds tiring, and the organizer's disappointed. Nobody volunteered to help us with the fair, a common struggle for community organizers.
Then the friend says, I would have helped you. I didn't know you needed help. Again, that after-the-fact regret, but also points to communication. Maybe the call for volunteers wasn't clear enough.
Could be. It highlights that need for clear asks. But the purpose of the fair adds weight.
Right. Donating proceeds to needy students makes the lack of help seem more disappointing, but also reinforces the value of the event.
And maybe motivates the friend to help next time.
Hopefully. Okay, another idiom scenario. Offering and declining politely.
An offer to go skiing. But the response is, I'm afraid that skiing just is not my cup of tea.
Using the slightly informal tea version there, and the explanation follows. Not my cup of tea is a polite way to say you don't like something.
Very useful phrase. Softens the refusal. Less blunt than I hate skiing.
And the contrast comes immediately. Inviting someone else who says skiing is my cup of tea reinforces the meaning perfectly.
Great little exchange for learning that idiom.
Now for something purely practical, calling a moving company.
Yep, just the basics needed for an initial inquiry. What needs moving? Furniture. How much? A lot of stuff.
Using that casual Lotus stuff. From where? My apartment. To where? My new house. Simple, functional.
The company then says they need some more information, which is the natural next step for getting a proper quote. Just gathering the initial scope here.
Straightforward service request. Okay, travel prep again. This time, a company trip to Thailand.
Sounds exciting. Destination specified as Phuket. And there's a little geography lesson thrown in.
One of the southern provinces of Thailand, the country's largest island. Helpful context. More formal tone there, providing info.
Right. Duration is mentioned. 4 days. And a nice gesture between colleagues.
Offering suitable clothes for the trip shows good camaraderie.
Supportive environment. Nice touch.
Okay, another general catch-up. What have people been up to? Future plans.
Covers the usual stuff. Going to work, keeping up with my exercise, standard life maintenance. Then the bigger goals. Saving up money. For travel, specifically Peru this time.
And for starting a business, a flower shop. Different dreams.
And there's that lovely, encouraging comment.
The way you arrange flowers is so beautiful. Recognizing someone's passion and talent? That's really nice to hear.
It is. Positive reinforcement goes beyond just stating facts.
Big news next. Friends going to university together. In the UK.
You can feel the excitement and relief, can't you?
Yeah.
They both got in, achieved this shared goal. Big moment.
Huge. And they're already planning the next stage, renting an apartment together.
Getting down to the practicalities, how far from the uni, how many rooms, how much is the rent, any student discount.
Shows they're serious, already researching. It's full of optimism, that conversation.
Yeah, looking forward to a major life change together.
Okay, the tone shifts now. A scheduling conflict, but a sad one. Missing the graduation dance.
Yeah, the reason is heavy. Attending a funeral. The immediate response is crucial.
I didn't know. I'm sorry about that. Simple, direct, essential sympathy. Acknowledging the loss.
Exactly. Then clarification about attending a different party later, showing how life involves balancing these different events and emotions.
And that reflection, time flies so fast, we're about to graduate. Looking back, but also forward to college, life moving on.
It's poignant, handles the mix of sadness and future hope quite sensitively.
Back to planning celebrations. A birthday pool party.
Sounds fun. Key details are covered. Where, my house, when, Saturday night, what to bring, a side dish, potluck style.
And the essential instruction. This is a pool party. Make sure to bring your bathing suit. Can't forget that.
Nope. Clear, simple party planning communication.
Next, just a quick expression of personal taste. Disliking tea.
I find the taste of tea too bitter. Straightforward preference. Mentions trying sweeteners, herbal teas, but still, nope.
And the response is accepting. Okay, individual tastes differ. How about coffee instead? Respecting the preference.
Simple as that. No judgment.
Then encouragement to try something new, cooking Thai food.
Someone's hesitant, not sure where to start. Understandable with unfamiliar cooking.
But the encouragement is enthusiastic. It's actually quite fun and delicious, trying to overcome the reluctance.
Framing it as a culinary adventure, suggesting starting with basic recipes makes it seem less intimidating, more like fun exploration.
Good approach to encourage trying new things.
Now a very short one, reinforcing an earlier theme, taking breaks.
Just a quick reminder, need to take a break. Why? To clear your mind, to recharge. Simple but vital for productivity and well-being.
Concise, an important point.
Next, food safety again. Potential danger of expired food.
Yeah, raises the alarm, emphasizes the risks. The key message, better to be safe than sorry.
Absolutely. Don't mess around with expired stuff. Prioritize health.
Wise words. Now a different kind of safety concern, feeling unsafe somewhere.
Strange noises, darkness, triggers that feeling of unease, instincts kicking in.
And the advice is immediate and urgent. Leave here at once. Prioritize personal safety above all else in a potentially threatening situation.
Don't hesitate, just get out. Trust your gut.
Crucial advice. Okay, shifting to relationship dynamics again. Dealing with conflict and honesty.
Talking about a couple after a big argument. They're finally going to address the issues they've been avoiding.
That takes courage. And the conversation acknowledges the difficulty. Sometimes nothing hurts like the truth.
Yeah, honesty can be painful, but it's often necessary for the relationship to heal or move forward authentically.
The hope expressed is for reconciliation, for moving forward positively. Suggests that confronting problems, though hard, can ultimately strengthen the bond.
If handled constructively, yeah, it can lead to deeper understanding.
Right. Now for a warmer, nostalgic look at friendship and trust.
The story about losing the camera, a gift from mom, that adds emotional weight.
And the friend jumping in to help search unconditionally? That shows real support.
Then the funny twist. The camera was in her own bag all along. A bit embarrassing, but also endearing.
Makes it more memorable. And it leads to that strong affirmation of trust. I trust you so much. You were there with me through thick and thin.
Really highlights the value of that reliable, supportive friendship. Shared history, even the slightly silly bits.
Beautiful reminder of what good friendship means.
And speaking of relationships, how about how one started? A meet-cute story.
Yeah, the spilled coffee on a book. A bit cliche maybe, but charming. Shows how connections can happen unexpectedly.
And the reflection, life works in mysterious ways. Acknowledging that randomness.
Followed by mutual declarations of love and happiness. Yes, we're completely in love. I couldn't be happier. Me neither. Just a sweet, happy ending to how they met.
Nice. Shows that good things can come from small accidents.
Definitely. Okay, next, focusing on visual details and memory.
Describing a woman in a striking dress. The prompt is enthusiastic. Describe it to me. Shows interest in the visual.
And the description is quite poetic. Long, flowing, shimmering blue shade, almost like the sky at dusk. Really paints a picture.
And then that description triggers a personal memory for the listener.
Right. It reminds her of a dress she wore to her college prom. Shows how external visuals connect to our own past experiences, our emotions.
Sensory details as memory triggers. Fascinating.
It is. Okay, our final scenario before we wrap up. Preparing for reconciliation.
Someone's getting ready for a reunion party but wants to clear the air first. Making a list of people to talk to, address past misunderstandings.
That's proactive and, frankly, brave. Takes emotional maturity to want to fix things before a potentially awkward event.
And the advice offered is simple but sound. Just be genuine and everything will work out.
Focus on sincerity, authenticity, hope for the best. It underscores that genuine communication is usually the best path forward in resolving conflict.
A hopeful note to end the scenarios on. Wow, we covered a lot of ground there.
We really did. From work hellos to dealing with stress, neighbors, travel, relationships, the whole spectrum of everyday life, really.
And seen through the lens of simple conversations. It's amazing how much is packed into them. Phrases, idioms, cultural bits, emotions.
Absolutely. These examples really show spoken English in action, with all its nuances and unspoken rules.
I really hope that listening to this has given you, our audience, some useful takeaways. Maybe some phrases clicked or you recognized a situation.
Yeah, maybe thinking about how you could use something like, not my cup of tea, or how David handled being the new guy. Reflecting on how these apply to your own life is key.
And maybe the bigger picture here is seeing that these everyday chats aren't just, filling silence. They're how we build everything. Connections, understanding.
It's the foundation of our social world, really, how we navigate relationships, express who we are, get things done. It's all in these seemingly ordinary interactions.
So here's that final thought we like to leave you with. How does really tuning into these everyday exchanges, understanding the words, the tone, the context, how does that actually unlock a deeper understanding, not just of the language, but of the culture behind it? And how does it help build stronger connections?
It's a great question. Because it suggests that mastering everyday conversation is about more than just vocabulary and grammar. It's about cultural fluency and empathy, too.
Definitely something to chew on. Thank you all so much for sticking with us through this deep dive. We really appreciate you spending your time with us.
Yeah, thanks everyone. We hope you found it helpful, maybe even a bit entertaining, and got a richer sense of what everyday English is all about.
Until next time, keep listening, keep noticing those little details and conversations around you, and keep practicing.
And stay curious about language. There's always more to discover.
And one last thing, if you did enjoy this detailed look and want more insights into English, please do subscribe to the channel. Thanks again for listening.